Good morning, my friends. Let me ask you a question. If there was a pill that could instantly double your brain power, triple your focus, and make every word you read stick forever, would you take it? What if I told you that pill already exists and it's you? Today, I'm going to show you how to think faster and remember more. Not someday, not next year, but starting right now. Because you don't have to be the smartest person in the room. You just need to unlock the genius already inside you. Right now, your brain is processing this sentence at a fraction of its true potential. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you how to unlock the rest so you can think faster, remember more, and never see learning the same way again. Your brain is the most powerful tool you will ever own, but most people treat it like an afterthought. They feed their bodies but starve their minds. They maintain their cars but never run a diagnostic on their mental engine. Imagine your brain as a supercomputer. The problem is, if you're running outdated software, no matter how good your hardware is, you won't perform at your best. That's how most of us are living. We're using thinking patterns, study methods, and memory habits we learned in grade school and trying to apply them to the high-speed, high-demand world of today. It's like trying to run the latest graphics, heavy apps on a flip phone from 2005. It's frustrating, it's slow, and eventually it crashes. I remember meeting a brilliant entrepreneur who felt stuck. She was successful by most people's standards but constantly overwhelmed. Every day was a race against the clock. And she never felt caught up. She told me, "Jim, I feel like I'm always one step behind." I asked her about her daily learning routine. She stared at me like I had asked about her daily trips to Mars. She didn't have one, no time, she said. But here's the truth. She wasn't short on time. She was using outdated mental software. She was working harder but not smarter. After learning a few brain upgrade techniques, she doubled her reading speed, improved her memory recall, and cut her daily prep work in half. The difference wasn't her AQ, it was her operating system. Think about your phone or computer. Every so often, it asks you to update. Why? To patch weaknesses, fix bugs, improve performance, and add new features. The same is true for your brain. The problem is, most people wait for a mental system crash before they even think about upgrading. Burnout, forgetting important details, losing focus during critical meetings. These are warning signs your mental software is lagging. And here's the good news, upgrading doesn't take years. It takes awareness and consistent practice. Let's get practical. One simple upgrade is changing how you take in information. Most people read word by word, vocalizing in their heads, which slows them down and tires them out. If you learn to read groups of words at a time and guide your eyes with a visual pacer like your finger or a pen, you can boost speed and comprehension in minutes. Another upgrade, memory linking. Instead of trying to remember isolated facts, you connect them to vivid images, emotions, or stories, making them stick like Velcro in your mind. These aren't magic tricks. They're software updates that tap into how your brain actually works. The emotional truth is this: when you don't upgrade your brain, you start to believe the lie that you're not smart enough or fast enough. You start to doubt yourself in meetings. You miss opportunities because you can't remember names or details. You watch others advance and think they're gifted in a way you're not, but it's not a gift, it's a skill set. You can learn it. You can rewire the way you think, process. And remember, I want you to imagine a version of yourself where you walk into a room and remember everyone's name without hesitation. You read reports in half the time and actually recall the key points days later. You learn a new skill in weeks instead of months. That's not a fantasy. That's what happens when you decide to upgrade your mental operating system. You don't have to accept slow thinking, poor memory, or scattered focus as your default setting. You can install new habits, new techniques, and new ways of learning that make you faster, sharper, and more confident. So here's my challenge to you this week. Pick one brain upgrade and commit to it. Maybe it's using a visual pacer while reading. Maybe it's practicing memory linking with a grocery list or your daily to-dose. Maybe it's simply getting an extra hour of sleep because a rested brain processes faster. Don't try to do all of it at once. One upgrade at a time. Just like your phone, you don't need to overhaul the whole system overnight, but you do need to start. Every update compounds, and before you know it, your brain will be running at a speed you didn't think was possible. Stop blaming your hardware. Your brain is extraordinary. The only question is, are you willing to update the software? Without purpose, even the smartest mind will wander. Without purpose, learning feels like a chore, something you have to force yourself to do. And as soon as the pressure is gone, the knowledge fades away. But when you connect what you're learning to a deep reason why, everything changes. Purpose turns the light on in your brain. Purpose makes you lean forward in your chair, hungry to absorb more. Purpose makes the work feel lighter, the hours pass faster, and the lessons stick longer. I've met countless people who tell me they want to improve their memory, read faster, or process information more efficiently, but when I ask them why, they give vague answers. To be smarter, to get ahead, to keep up. Those are fine, but they're not deep enough to create lasting change. You need a purpose so strong that it pulls you forward when you feel like quitting. I remember working with a high school student who struggled in every subject. He told me he hated school, couldn't focus, and forgot everything he read. He had convinced himself that he just wasn't a school person. Then I asked him what he was passionate about. His eyes lit up. He told me about his dream becoming a video game designer. He described it in detail: characters, worlds, storylines. I asked him, do you realize how much coding, design, and storytelling skills you'll need for that? Suddenly, reading wasn't about passing English class. It was about learning how to build the games he loved. Math wasn't about getting a grade. It was about understanding algorithms. Once he tied learning to his purpose, his grades climbed, but more importantly, his mindset transformed. He started seeking knowledge instead of avoiding it. Purpose works because the brain is wired to remember and act on things that feel meaningful. Think about the last time you learned something purely because you wanted to. Maybe it was a recipe you wanted to try for a loved one. Maybe it was researching the best travel spots for a vacation. You didn't procrastinate, you didn't forget the details, and you didn't have to force yourself to stay focused. That's because your emotional connection to the outcome turbocharged your learning. Your brain is an energy hog. It uses about 20% of the body's energy, so it's constantly deciding what's worth keeping and what to discard. Purpose tells your brain, this matters. Say this, remember this. But here's the trap. Most people never stop to define their purpose clearly. They have fuzzy ideas of wanting to improve their lives, but no concrete, personal, emotionally charged reason. That's like trying to drive to an unfamiliar destination without a map. You might move, but you won't move in the right direction. Without a clear why, you get distracted, discouraged, or both. So here's a practical exercise you can do right now. Grab a sheet of paper and write down one thing you want to achieve in the next 6 months that would require you to think faster and remember more. Then write 3 reasons why you want that goal. Make them specific and personal. If your goal is to read more books, maybe one reason is to connect more deeply with your kids by sharing stories with them. If your goal is to improve your memory, maybe one reason is to make your friends feel seen and valued by remembering every detail they share with you. If your goal is to process information faster, maybe one reason is to reduce stress and have more free time for the things you love. Purpose is like rocket fuel. It's concentrated, it's powerful, and it's what makes you break through the atmosphere of old habits. Once you have it, challenges become tolerable because you see the bigger picture. Missing a night out to study stops feeling like a sacrifice and starts feeling like an investment. Early mornings stop being a burden and start being an opportunity. You shift from I have to I get to. I've seen this in my own life. When I was younger, I had a head injury that made learning difficult. I could have accepted that story and lived small, but I had a purpose. I wanted to help people who struggled like I did. Every book I read, every technique I practiced, every late night studying neuroscience wasn't just work, it was a mission. That purpose carried me through the frustration and self-doubt until I had the skills I needed to teach others. Your brain is a goal-seeking machine. Give it a target that excites you, that stirs your emotions, that feels bigger than yourself. Tie your learning to that purpose, and you'll find energy you didn't know you had. This week, choose your purpose, write it down, and remind yourself of it every day. Let it guide your choices, your habits, and your mindset, because once you have a strong enough why, you will always find the how. Focus is the currency of the 21st century. It's the one skill that multiplies every other skill you have. Without it, even the most brilliant mind is like a light bulb, scattering energy in every direction. With it, you become a laser, able to cut through obstacles, get more done in less time, and remember what matters most. The problem is, we live in the most distracted time in human history. Notifications, pop-ups, messages, constant news updates, emails, advertisements, they're all fighting for your attention. Every time you get pulled away from a task, your brain has to reboot its concentration. That's why you can work all day and still feel like you've accomplished nothing. You've been busy, but not focused. I once worked with a CEO who felt like she was drowning in work. Her calendar was packed from morning to night, yet she never seemed to catch up. When I asked her how often she was interrupted, she admitted she checked her phone just for a second, every few minutes, answered every email as it came in, and kept multiple browser tabs open just in case. No wonder she felt scattered. Her brain was being yanked in a dozen directions every hour. I had her try a simple experiment. For 1 week, she set a timer for 25 minutes, closed every unnecessary tab, silenced her phone, and focused on one single task at a time. She was shocked to find she could finish in 25 minutes what used to take her an hour. Her mind wasn't faster, her attention was sharper. The science backs this up. Every time you switch tasks, your brain experiences what researchers call attention residue. A part of your mind is still thinking about the previous task. which slows you down on the new one. It can take anywhere from a few seconds to several minutes to fully regain focus. Multiply that by dozens of interruptions a day, and you can see why multitasking is a myth. You're not doing two things at once. You're rapidly switching between them, and each switch costs you mental energy. Think about a magnifying glass. When you hold it over paper in the sunlight, nothing happens unless you hold it steady. Keep moving it, and the light never concentrates enough to ignite. But if you hold it still, the light focuses into a point so hot it can set the paper on fire. That's exactly how your attention works. The more you keep it concentrated on one thing, the more powerful it becomes. So how do you train your focus? First, you remove as many distractions as possible before you start a task. That means silencing notifications, putting your phone in another room if you can, and setting clear boundaries with the people around you. Second, you give your brain a single target. Write down the task you're working on and keep it visible. If your mind wanders, your written target pulls you back. Third, you work in focused intervals, what's known as the Pomodoro technique. 25 minutes of pure concentration, then a 5-minute break. It's short enough to feel manageable, but long enough to enter a flow state. Over time, you can extend those intervals to 45 or 60 minutes. The emotional impact of mastering focus is huge. You stop ending your days exhausted and frustrated. You finish your work faster, which gives you more time for the things you love. You remember details better because your mind wasn't divided when you learned them. You start to feel in control again instead of reactive, and that confidence spills into every area of your life. Here's a practical challenge tomorrow. Choose one important task and give it your full attention for 25 minutes. No checking your phone, no responding to emails, no quick peeks at social media, just you and the task. At the end of the 25 minutes, notice how much you've accomplished. Notice how it feels to give something your complete focus. Then do it again and again. String enough of those focus sessions together, and you'll be amazed at how much faster you work and how much more you remember. We all get the same 24 hours. The difference between people who get extraordinary results and those who don't isn't just intelligence. It's the ability to focus their mental energy where it matters most. Train your focus and you train your future. Reading is one of the fastest ways to compress decades of experience into days, yet most people are stuck reading at the same pace they did when they were 12. Leaders are readers, but they can't afford to crawl through information in a world that moves at the speed of light. If you read slowly, you're not just wasting time, you're creating a bottleneck on your growth, your career, and your ability to adapt. Think about it. If you read at 200 words per minute, which is average, and you read 30 minutes a day, you'll get through maybe a dozen books a year. Double that speed, and you double the knowledge you take in. And here's the surprising thing. When you learn to read faster the right way, your comprehension doesn't go down. It actually goes up because your brain stays more engaged. When I was a kid, reading was painful for me. After my head injury, my reading speed was far below average, and I couldn't remember much of what I read. It felt like trying to run with my shoelaces tied together. I had to relearn how to read, not letter by letter or word by word, but in a way that matched how the brain processes language. One of the first breakthroughs I discovered was that most people subvocalize, meaning they say the words in their head as they read. This slows you down to the pace of your speech, which is about 150 to 200 words per minute. Your brain, however, can process information much faster, 400, 500, even 1,000 words per minute. By training yourself to read in chunks instead of one word at a time, and by using a visual pacer like your finger or a pen, you can push past that verbal speed limit. I once worked with a group of attorneys who were drowning in paperwork. They spent entire weekends reading case files and still felt behind. I taught them to use the pacer method, running a finger under the line of text to guide their eyes, eliminating backtracking, and training themselves to see groups of 3 to 5 words at a time. Within a few weeks, they had doubled their speed without losing comprehension. They reported feeling more confident in court, less stressed at home, and sharper during negotiations. It wasn't magic, it was mechanics. They learned how to drive their reading engine at the speed it was designed for. One of the most powerful benefits of speed reading is how it changes your relationship with information. Instead of avoiding thick books or long reports because they seem overwhelming, you start to see them as opportunities. You can breeze through an industry report before a meeting and walk in with fresh insights. You can read a biography in a few hours and come away with strategies that someone else took a lifetime to figure out. You're no longer a passive consumer of information. You're a high-speed processor, filtering, absorbing, and applying knowledge faster than most people can start. But speed reading is not about rushing. It's about reading with purpose. Before you even start, ask yourself, why am I reading this? If it's for deep understanding, you might take more time. If it's for scanning key ideas or preparing for a meeting, you'll approach it differently. Your purpose will dictate your pace and your method. That's the real secret. You're not just speeding up, you're becoming a more intentional reader. A simple way to start is to time yourself reading a single page at your normal pace. Then read another page with your finger moving smoothly under the text, forcing your eyes to keep up. You'll likely notice you finish faster, and because your eyes are guided, you lose less focus. Practice this for 10 to 15 minutes a day, and your speed will naturally increase. Combine this with expanding your perceptual span, training yourself to see and understand more words at a glance, and you'll break through the limits you've had since childhood. The emotional shift that happens when you double your reading speed is incredible. You feel lighter because you're no longer buried under unread emails, unfinished books, and half-skimmed articles. You feel smarter because you can connect dots faster and remember more of what you read. You start to see opportunities where before there was just overwhelm. The call to action is simple commit to learning one speed reading technique this week. Use a visual pacer, read in chunks, or set a daily timed reading sprint. Do it consistently, and within a month, you'll look back and wonder how you ever tolerated reading at a crawl. In a world where knowledge is power, your reading speed is your power dial. Turn it up, and you turn up every part of your life. Remembering someone's name is one of the simplest yet most powerful ways to make a lasting impression. People feel seen, valued, and respected when you recall their name, sometimes even years later. But the truth is, most of us forget names almost immediately after hearing them. We meet someone, they introduce themselves, and 5 seconds later it's gone. We tell ourselves we're just bad with names, but really the problem is attention, not memory. You can't recall something you never encoded in the first place if you weren't fully present when they said their name. It never made it into your brain's storage system to begin with. I know this firsthand. Early in my career, I went to an event where I met dozens of people in a short time. I was trying to make a good impression, but I was distracted, thinking about what I was going to say next, scanning the room, checking my phone between conversations. Later, someone I'd spoken to for nearly 10 minutes came up to me, excited to reconnect, and I had no idea what their name was. I smiled and nodded through the conversation, but inside, I felt embarrassed. What made it worse was that this person happened to run a company that could have changed the trajectory of my career at the time. That lost connection stayed with me and taught me a lesson. Forgetting names can cost you opportunities, relationships, and trust. The key to remembering names is to make them meaningful to you. The human brain remembers what it finds relevant, unusual, or connected to emotion. A name on its own is just an abstract sound, so you have to turn it into something concrete and memorable. One of the simplest techniques is called look, listen, link. When you meet someone, first look directly at them and make a mental note of their most distinctive feature. The shape of their glasses, the way they smile, the color of their hair. Then listen to their name carefully and repeat it out loud right away. Nice to meet you, Sarah. Finally, link their name to an image or concept that will stick. If the person's name is Rose, imagine them holding a giant bouquet of roses. If it's Mike, picture them speaking into a microphone. The sillier or more exaggerated the image, the better it will stick. I once taught this technique to a group of sales professionals who met hundreds of clients every month. One woman came back to me after a week and said she had remembered every single client's name for the first time in her career. She told me how one man was so shocked she remembered his name from a year earlier that he referred her to 3 new customers. The truth is, remembering names isn't just about memory, it's about making people feel important. Here's another tip: use the person's name several times during your conversation. It's not just for your benefit, it makes the interaction warmer. Instead of saying, "That's interesting," say, "That's interesting, Mark." At the end of the conversation, say their name again. "It was great talking with you, Mark." Repetition reinforces memory and deepens rapport. If you really want to cement the name in your mind, write it down immediately after your meeting, along with a detail about the person. Sarah, graphic designer, loves hiking. Later, when you review your notes, those extra details act as hooks for your brain to grab onto. Over time, this habit builds a personal database of relationships you can draw from, which is invaluable in both personal and professional life. The emotional payoff of mastering this skill is enormous. Imagine walking into a room full of people you've met before and greeting each one by name. You instantly stand out because you've done what most people can't or won't do. People feel drawn to you because you've given them the gift of being remembered. In business, that can lead to new deals, partnerships, and referrals. In your personal life, it can deepen friendships and strengthen family bonds. So here's the challenge today: practice look, listen, link with at least 3 people. Don't just hear their names, encode them. Create vivid, playful images. Repeat the names in conversation. Write them down afterward. This small habit, done consistently, can transform the way you connect with others. The world is full of people who want to feel noticed, valued, and important. Remembering their name is the first and most powerful step to making that happen. Memory is not something you're born with in a fixed amount, like a set of cards you just have to play. It's a skill, and like any skill, it can be trained and strengthened. Most people assume memory fades with age, but what really happens is that they stop exercising it. Just like muscles weaken when you stop using them, your memory gets rusty when you don't give it regular challenges. The good news is that your brain is plastic. It can adapt, grow, and rewire itself at any stage of life. The key is to treat memory like a living, breathing part of you that needs training and nourishment. I've met people who tell me they can't remember simple things. Where they left their keys, someone's birthday, an item on their grocery list, yet they can recite every lyric from songs they loved 20 years ago. That's proof the memory is there. It just responds to what we focus on and what we practice. Your brain prioritizes information it thinks is important, and importance is determined by repetition, emotion, and connection. If you can sing a 3-minute song word for word, you can remember anything. You just need the right method. One of my favorite ways to train memory is through the chain link method. It works by creating a story that links the items you want to remember together in a sequence. For example, if you need to remember a list like bread, batteries, sunglasses, and milk, you'd imagine a loaf of bread with batteries baked inside, wearing sunglasses, and spilling milk all over the floor. The sillier and more vivid the image, the better it sticks. The brain loves novelty and exaggeration. A plain list of words is boring, so your brain tosses it out. But a ridiculous mental movie, that's entertaining. Your brain will keep it. I once worked with a corporate team that had to memorize a complicated sequence of steps for a new process. Instead of drilling it over and over in a dry, mechanical way, we turned it into a funny, exaggerated story. Within 30 minutes, the entire group could recite the process flawlessly. Weeks later, they still remembered it. This wasn't about them suddenly becoming smart. Overnight, it was about tapping into the way memory naturally works. Another powerful memory workout is to recall things without looking them up. Too often, when we can't remember something, we immediately reach for our phones. That's like hiring someone to lift weights for you and wondering why you're not getting stronger. The next time you're trying to recall a fact, a name, or a detail, pause before you Google it. Give your brain a chance to search its own files. That act of retrieval strengthens the neural pathways, making it easier to find the information next time. Repetition is also key, but it has to be spaced repetition, not cramming. If you repeat something right after you learn it, then again an hour later, then the next day, then a few days later, you're sending your brain the signal that this information matters. The brain will then store it in long-term memory instead of letting it fade away. Apps and tools can help with this, but you can also do it naturally by reviewing notes regularly and recalling them from memory. Memory training isn't just about practical benefits. It changes how you see yourself. When you start remembering details, you feel more confident in conversations. You walk into meetings prepared, knowing you can recall facts, names, and ideas without relying on a screen. You stop apologizing for having a bad memory because you know you've built a strong one. This confidence ripples into every area of your life, from relationships to career growth. To start strengthening your memory today, pick one simple practice. It could be memorizing a short poem, creating a chain, link story for your grocery list, or playing a memory game with a friend. Do it daily, even for just 5 minutes. Your memory will respond faster than you think because it's hungry for challenge. The call to action is this: stop treating your memory as a fragile thing that will inevitably fade. Treat it like a muscle, feed it, challenge it, and watch it grow. Your brain is capable of far more than you've been led to believe, and the stronger you make your memory, the stronger you make yourself. You only get one brain, and it's the control center for everything you do: your work, your relationships, your creativity, your health, and your happiness. Yet most people take better care of their phones than their minds. If your phone battery dropped to 5%, you'd panic and rush to find a charger. But when your brain's energy is depleted from lack of sleep, poor nutrition, or constant stress, you push through and hope for the best. That approach might work for a while, but over time, it costs you clarity, focus, memory, and even years off your life. Protecting your brain is not a luxury, it's a necessity, and it starts with the daily choices you make. One of the most powerful ways to protect your brain is by prioritizing quality sleep. During deep sleep, your brain goes into a kind of maintenance mode, clearing out toxins that build up during the day, consolidating memories, and repairing neural connections. Without enough sleep, those toxins accumulate, your memory recall weakens, and your ability to think clearly takes a hit. I've met entrepreneurs who pride themselves on getting by with 4 hours of sleep a night, but eventually their performance drops. Their mood suffers, and their decision-making falters. The brain isn't designed to run without downtime. Aim for 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep, and treat it like an unbreakable meeting with your future self. Nutrition is another critical factor. Your brain is only about 2% of your body weight, yet it uses up to 20% of your energy. What you eat directly impacts how you think and feel. Diets high in sugar and processed foods cause spikes and crashes in blood sugar, leading to brain fog and sluggish thinking. On the other hand, foods rich in omega-3 fatty acids, antioxidants, and vitamins, like wild salmon, blueberries, walnuts, and leafy greens, provide the building blocks your brain needs to function at its best. Think of it as high-octane fuel for your mental engine. Every bite is either feeding your focus or feeding your forgetfulness. Exercise is equally important, not just for your body, but for your brain. Physical activity increases blood flow, delivering more oxygen and nutrients to your brain cells. It also stimulates the release of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, a protein that supports the growth of new neurons and strengthens existing connections. You don't have to run marathons. Just 20 to 30 minutes of walking, dancing, or cycling a day can make a measurable difference in your cognitive function. Movement is medicine for the mind. Stress management is another non-negotiable. Chronic stress floods your brain with cortisol, which over time can shrink the hippocampus, the part of your brain responsible for memory and learning. If you're constantly in fight or flight mode, you're not giving your brain the calm it needs to process and retain information. Practices like meditation, deep breathing, or simply spending time in nature can help reset your nervous system and protect your brain from stress-related damage. Even taking a few slow, deep breaths in the middle of a hectic day can lower your stress levels and sharpen your thinking. Your environment also plays a role in brain health. Exposure to harmful substances like tobacco, excessive alcohol, or environmental toxins can damage brain cells. Surround yourself with people who challenge and inspire you. Social interaction is a workout for your brain. Engaging in meaningful conversations, learning new skills, and staying mentally active keeps your brain circuits firing. The phrase "use it or lose it" is especially true for cognitive health. I once met a man in his 80s who could remember the names of every person in our conversation, quote poetry from memory, and talk knowledgeably about current events. When I asked him his secret, he told me, "I treat my brain like my best friend. I feed it well, I let it rest, I keep it active, and I never take it for granted." His words stuck with me because they capture the essence of brain protection. It's not about avoiding decline. It's about cultivating vitality for as long as possible. Now choose one brain healthy habit and commit to it this week. It could be going to bed an hour earlier, adding more leafy greens to your meals, walking every morning, or meditating for 5 minutes a day. Start small, but start now. Every choice you make is either an investment in your future mental clarity or a withdrawal from it. You only get one brain, protect it, and it will protect you.